Redding is a beautiful place. We have national parks in 3 different directions, 2 world-class lakes. This is a sportsman's paradise, but it's also full of wonderful people. We have business leaders, community leaders, faith-based leaders, all of them working towards a singular goal, and that's to make this a great place to live. I wanted to showcase these people, give their perception of the place that they call home. This is allredding.
All right, what's up, allredding? Hey, I got Mike Haworth in the booth with me. I'm so excited that you're here, Coach. I really look forward to diving into it. And I got to start with, I just can't go anywhere where your influence, is not there. And I just mean players that you've had a chance to impact. You've coached, over 35 years in a school. You're currently coaching college. As a matter of fact, congratulations. I heard that you were the CALPAC Coach of the Year for volleyball at Simpson University. So
thank you.
Yeah, let's get into it, Coach. So where does it all begin? Take us back.
Yeah, I think I was a military kid.
Okay.
Grew up on a Navy base. The Navy base I actually grew up on was movie Top Gun, Miramar Naval Air Station in San Diego. And probably the greatest place for me to grow up as an athlete was, I had a gym down the street from me that I could go to all the time. My mom used to joke with me all the time that the only time she ever saw me was when I came home to sleep and when I came home to eat. Other than that, I was at the gym all the time.
Just on the go.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah.
So sports and activities and things like that were just always part of
always
who you are.
And my dad was an athlete, so it's they kept me busy with all of that stuff, and there was not a whole lot of free time that wasn't involved with athletics.
And you've coached, you're in education, right? And so take us to the educational side of that as well, Coach.
Yeah. So for me, as I was growing up, I think the thing was I always wanted to be a coach, and so now you start to figure out how do you do that.
Right.
And the way to do that and the avenue to go that way was find a way that you're going to be able to go teach somewhere that you could coach.
Okay.
Because I really thought at the time that the high school is where I wanted to be and do that. And so that was my avenue to get to it, was to find a teaching position and do those kind of things. It was kind of ironic because I never ended up at a high school. I ended up teaching school in a juvenile hall. So I did that for everybody. When they saw me coaching here in town, thought that I was a teacher at Enterprise. Never was a teacher at Enterprise. Always was a teacher at juvenile hall. So yeah, it was kind of nice because it gave me balance.
Okay. So you're perfecting your craft along the way, Coach. It sounds like this is a calling. And how do you get there? Because it's did you just jump into high school, or did you kind of did you go to a basketball camp or a baseball camp, or how did it really start where you could figure out did you have to go through elementary or junior high camps and kids and stuff to do that, or how'd you do it?
Yeah, I think that just because of the people that when I was playing, the people that were my mentors, I was able to kind of jump a lot of ladders that I wouldn't have had to. I was able to step right into the high school and be kind of comfortable just because I had such great coaches that, really trained me when I was a player, that I took a lot of the things from each one of those and then tried to, and I'm a voracious learner. I've never stopped trying to learn. I'm watching video, watching games. And so I would take what they told me and then try and watch things and kind of say, okay, how can we use that with what we're doing and kind of make adjustments with it to fit whatever the kind of people that we had. Mm-hmm. I remember one year we were playing in a big game, and the 2 nights before I had put in practice a out of bounds play that I saw on TV, and I thought, oh, this would be great with us.
Yeah.
And we won a game 2 nights later using the same exact out of bounds play that we saw on TV. So
you're always studying. Always a learner.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, it's you never stay the same. I think that's one of my favorite quotes. You never stay the same. You either get better or you get worse. And so for me, it's always kind of trying to find that way to get better.
Yeah, Coach, I hear what you're saying. I love that learning aspect of whether that's education, whether that's business, life, sports. And Coach, you're a walking smile, but I deep down, it's whenever I watched you on the sidelines for years. I mean, since I was in high school, since I was before high school, and I'm but you're also a fierce competitor. So how did you balance this demand, right, with your players? Because you coached 3 sports for so long. With how'd you do that?
Yeah, I think that building the relationship pieces is if you have the relationship pieces with the players that you have, then you can push them to different levels than they're used to. But
Right.
when you don't have a relationship and you kind of just, it's like hitting a wall. You're not going to be able to get beyond a lot of that. So for me, it was always trying to build a relationship and trying to build a culture that everybody understood that we're just going to work as hard as we can every single time we walk in this gym. And my job is to make sure that you do that. And my job is to make sure that this is not easy every day. It's hard, and it's hard work, and the hard work you put in is going to reap you benefits when we play the game. The practice is always going to be way harder than the games are going to be.
But Coach, it seems like I hear what you're saying, and I just feel like it seems like that's a lost art. Like it seems like it's really hard to do that now.
It is, and it is, and it's really funny because a lot of people come back and watch me coach in the last 10 years, and they go, "Oh my gosh, you're so soft. You're not like you were before. You're not screaming and yelling." And it's like, yeah, that's probably true. That like the outward part of it, I probably matured in that part, but the practices are still the same kind of thing. They're still intense. We're still doing the things, but I think I've understand a little bit more about how to this type of athletes that we have nowadays.
Yeah.
They my day it was so different. My dad would never have called a coach, never talked to a coach. Every single time, if I had an issue when I was a player, he said, be a man, go deal with it.
Yeah.
And nowadays, everybody it's completely different. Everybody wants to make their kids feel better, and sometimes your kids they're going to fail, and they're not going to feel good in that. But they have to learn from all those failures, and so I think that's the big difference. Is that.
Yeah, and it's just so cool to hear you say like you're a learner. Like even Coach, you've won. I look at my stats over here, and it's like you've won 1,500 games or more. Like but you still say you always come back to learning. Even with how players shift and even at your age, like just saying like there's still something out there that I can learn. I just think that's a really impactful message when I think about what you said is that kid that you're trying to reach these days. And you're like, look, like student, kid, human, whoever. Colleague, coworker, like I'm still learning, so you should still be learning too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that again, for me, it's just you have to evolve.
Yeah.
And like we were really known for when I was coaching high school, our teams would get out and press and do a lot of things.
Yeah.
We played man to man the whole time we did it. Well, when Anthony, who you had on, last time he was here, when he played, those guys were really good at playing zone. We'd never played zone before ever in my entire time, but we knew with that team that was probably going to be the best way for us to play. So we made an adjustment and changed the things we did.
You optimized.
You can't be stuck in that one kind of thing because eventually people are going to figure it out. So we tried to always say, look, we're never going to lose games because one, we're not in as good a shape, and two, never lose because they play harder than us. We're always going to play hard, and I think that was a staple of all of our enterprise teams, all the sports I coached. That the kids always played hard, and people always ask me, like, how did you get your kids to play hard?
How do you do it, Coach?
And you know what? It's really easy. Like if you don't play. It's really easy. It's like the bench is a great motivator. If you don't play, here's the reason: you're not playing hard enough. If you do, then we'll get you in the game and you'll play some. So,
and even if you're not maybe quote unquote the best player or in the top 5 or the top 9 or whatever it is, like for your team's top 6, right? Like you're still just. How did you integrate those, those role players or those practice players or those like important pieces? Because you talk about Anthony, and I think about the story that he shared. He shared a story with me one time where it was like you put the first unit against the second unit in one practice, and like he's just giving them the business, and like I don't know what he said, but he's like you went off and said you're not nothing, Williams, and da 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 da, and you're going crazy on him. He's like, I'll never forget. He said I ran the entire rest of the practice.
Well, and what the funny part was that. Very rarely did we do the first team against the second team in practice with the twins. I put them on opposite teams because they were so competitive that I made them play against each other.
Right.
And so it was, that way I knew both teams were going to have like a fiery person on each team. And so, that was how we kind of competed. I'd love to be able to tell you a story about Anthony, if that's okay.
Oh, go ahead, Coach.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So his senior year, or maybe not his senior, but we're playing in the section finals. We're going to play Foothill, and we've played them 3 times already, right? And this is like that's right before the last practice, okay, and the night before, and I tell the kids, okay, look, we have one more practice tomorrow, and tonight we're going to draft teams. So I made Anthony and James choose teams, right? So they choose their teams up and we get done with it. And then I tell them, okay, tomorrow we're going bowling. And they had no idea what we were talking about. So I took them bowling. We didn't even practice, just took them bowling. And they were terrible. They'd never bowled before, either one of them. And it was so funny to watch them because they're such competitive kids. So it took all the pressure off of us. We ended up just winning the section finals very easy.
Wow.
And then the next day we find out, like on that Sunday, we find out who we're going to play in the state playoffs. Well, I get a call from them, and because we're going to meet at my house and discuss who we're playing. Well, Anthony calls me up and he goes, Coach, can we go bowling again on Monday? We went and practiced today. And it's like, Anthony, this is once. We're only doing this once. This was just a way to be able to, break the ice with you guys a little bit. So,
and that's funny, Coach, because I feel like he learned from you. And one of the things I think about your players, and like, I play with some of them, when I think about like, Cavalli or like Jordan Spascheck or like just, and like the cool part is like, I love playing with like guys like that, especially like Jordan and stuff, because it's like those kids, man, I do know it's like they really still understand the game. And even when you play with them now, it's like they still try to get everybody involved. They still share the rock. They still are doing the things that like you've taught them, like to play the right way. Even,
right.
I mean, high school's gone. Like we're out 15, 20 years, right? And I still love getting in the gym with them.
Yeah. And you know what? That's to me is the part that's the best part about coaching for me is to see all these kids that played for you and then come back and coach, and I've had a couple of them come back and say, Coach, like a couple of girls that played for me that were like, they were struggles when they were in high school playing for me. And then they come back and they coach and they said, Coach, we have a way different appreciation for you now after coaching because it's so difficult. But I think the main thing for me is just all the people, like you said, I've coached a lot of games, but I coach a lot of people.
Yes.
And, I love the relationship pieces that we still have. I love all these people that have coached, that I've been able to coach that still come back and watch us. Yeah. And, and still communicate with me. So yeah, that's the beauty of it right there.
Yeah, I've watched you, from a distance, from afar, and I remember just the impact of being at like your last volleyball game that you were going to coach at Enterprise High School, and it was just crazy. I'm just sitting next to random people, and I played for him, and I played for that. I mean, Coach, I'm going to the soccer park, and it's like, and I'm playing, or my little kid is playing, right, and it's like, and it's Brody's kid on the other side, or it's like, or Alex Cooper, what I mean, is her niece is on my team, and it's just like, so everywhere you go, it's like, man, Coach, like what an impact, man. Where you're like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason why, because the coaches that I had when I was younger were so impactful to me that made it really alluring to me that that's what I want to do. I want to be able to make a difference in some of these kids' lives. And so, yeah, whatever way it may be.
And Coach, I know I said earlier in the in the show that you won a lot, but teach me about or share with us and what you've learned about losses, like and some of the losses that you've taken, and you're like, man, what do I got to do?
Well, I think that's the thing is that if you're preaching to kids that we want you to fail, and then you got to use that failure to get better, then you have to be the same way. And I think that one of the things that kids probably appreciate me is when we had some of those losses and we either got out coached or they did things, like the first person admitting it in the locker room afterwards is me. Like I wasn't gonna be blamed. Look, because of that, that's on me. The next time we play, I'll fix that. And so I think that's when you show that, it's good. Much easier for you to prove to the kids that that's what you need to be able to accept some of the responsibility. Because I think so much in coaching, a lot of times you see people they may blame a lot on everybody else. Yeah. But you know what? If certain things are happening over and over and over again on your team, that's not their fault. That's yours. You haven't done a good job coaching them because they're still doing the same things over and over wrong. That's not the kid's fault. That's because you haven't coached them up enough to figure out how to fix that. Yeah.
And that's really powerful, Coach. And I think about that because, there's a loss particular that sticks out in my mind, right? And there's a banner hanging in the gym, when I walk in there and I look at it a lot. And the setting is, 1998 in March, and you get to the game. Like you get to the big game, and I look up some of the stats or whatever I could find in the archives, and I'm like, you got some dudes, man. I was like, Billy Spear, like he's a dude, right? And it's like you got the Morgan guy, he's a dude. You bring up CJ Wilmot, he's a dude. But you get into the state game, and you're playing, University High School out of San Diego, and they got some dudes too.
Oh, they had Luke
Tell
Walton.
us about that.
Oh yeah, and that Well, me being from San Diego was great because I had locker room stuff all over the place because they said that the week before that the team they had played was the championship because the team that they were going to playing in the championship wasn't at the level of the teams that they've been playing because they were in a Catholic school in San Diego. They'd played all over the country.
Yeah.
They had the Walton kids on their team. So they took us very lightly and like, we're down one with 15 seconds to go and had a chance to win the game, and which was it was for me that's the epitome of it. Is look, our hard work, everything we put in. This is where we were able to reap some of that benefits.
You had nothing to lose. You're the underdogs.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you're playing against. I mean, these are the sons and nephews of the late great Bill Walton, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, 6'8", right? I mean, doing their thing and
and then our kids believed. And so that's and then again, when that game was over, there's not one person in that arena could say that we didn't play harder than them. We played harder than them. They were just more athletic and better than us. And on a given night, anybody can beat anybody. And we came very close to doing that.
I was like looking for game film, like trying to figure. I was like, I know it wasn't the same as it is now with the technology and stuff, but I'm like, man, I want to watch that game so bad.
Yeah, it was a fun time for us to be able to do it, and really a fun time for me, just because the team we're playing was in my league when I played in high school. So University High School, my high school I went to was Madison. We're in the same league. So and I know, and I have friends down there that are coaching. So like we knew everything about them. We had everything in terms of scouting wise. We were good, and we almost came through with the right game plan for it. So
oh my gosh, it's incredible. I think it's incredible. I get goosebumps just thinking back to it. I love that banner is still hanging there. And Coach, you've hung a lot of banners in your lifetime. I love hearing you talk about the relationship piece of that. It's just so important. I think it's just so undervalued today when you're looking at kind of like the coaching landscape or education. Like let's go to the education and the coaching landscape together because you're doing this. But I think one of the hardest parts of the grind is, I'm a father. I know you're a father, and it's like, so you're doing all this stuff and you're going from 3 sports. And talk about the home team. I mean, your home team at your home.
You have to have special people there because they have to understand that you're going to be gone a lot, and
I mean, you're gone. Coach like 3 sports in a row.
Yes, absolutely, and for the first 15 years that we're doing that, like I have no kids in this, and it's just me coaching all the way through, and my wife was amazing during that time.
Yeah.
Without her, I wouldn't have been able to do anything. She's the rock for me. Is my wife has been able to do that, and then getting my kids and getting a chance to coach my kids during that time, and that was such a treat to be able to coach both my kids, and then even after that, still trying to do as good a job, even though now my kids are grown and everybody's out. But now it's full circle. So now I have 4 grandkids, and I'm still doing it. So that's the cool part for me.
You gonna coach your grandkids?
Yeah. Oh, I don't think I'll get to that point. I get to watch them, which is fun. I'm really getting a fun time. They're diehard Dodger fans, so they just they're in heaven right now. I'm a Padre fan, so like it's very hard.
My wife's from San Diego. Her family too. They're Padres fans, so we're Padres Giants. It's fine. The Dodgers,
You know what? My 2 favorite teams are the Padres and anybody playing the Dodgers. Yeah, that's my 2 favorite teams.
We're in the same boat right there. I was rooting for trust me, I was rooting for the Padres. Like, hey, whoever's in from the division, like I'm rooting for them. Coach, that's really cool. So let's jump to the education side. Like talk about, because you kind of have this affinity for like taking maybe the underdog and like, kind of make like polishing them up and stuff. And I think like you said you worked at Juvenile Hall, and so are you teaching there?
I taught there for 35 years, and I'm retired from teaching. I thought I was really done from coaching. I stopped in the high school, stopped teaching, and retired from both of them. And then Todd took the job as the basketball coach at Simpson and said, if I take this, you got to come help me. So the first 2 years I helped him with that. And then while I was there, they'd had some issues in the volleyball program. And the AD at the time said, hey, look, we need somebody to come in and help out. We know you have connections. We know you've done that for a really long time. So that's kind of the reason why I kind of got back into that was that. Again, it was really me thinking I just need to do something after I've retired from teaching and coaching at the same time. But the teaching part was I'm not really sure. Like I don't know why I've made that connection where a lot of like the kids that struggle and stuff that I always had that good connection with them, and maybe their home lives weren't good. Maybe it's just that I was so stable. My wife and I were stable. I had both my parents the whole time I was young and never had to worry about any of those kind of things. Great home life. And I always made that kind of connection with the players that I've had like that, and then working in juvenile hall. I think that if you're real with the kids, then they understand, especially kids that are in juvenile.
They know it's fake.
They know if it's fake or not.
Yes,
Yeah, absolutely.
They know if you're being authentic.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
And so again, going back to that, that's about building a relationship. And when you're talking with some of the kids that I had, there's some really rough kids. And if you don't build relationships with them, it can be very, very trying to teach them in those classes. So I always tried to find that balance of where I can make that relationship with some of those pieces with the kids that are there. You know, some of the things that was funny is I would wear a lot of my coaching gear to school, and the kids would go, oh, you coach at Enterprise. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, now you got a conversation going. And that's the start of it. That's the start of that relationship piece.
Okay.
So they would see some of those things that would help me kind of. And so I once I started doing that, I tried to do it all the time. So those kids kind of knew who I was, like through some other avenues maybe.
Right. And so you're just used to coaching like all different types of kids, and you kind of still have the same, I guess, approach or philosophy. But I just think about that because a lot of times, like, you can get a kid and maybe they're in juvie or like they're on this path, right? And like nobody really wants to actually like touch that kid. Like nobody really wants to go get that kid and build a relationship. I mean, you know, people are like, Haworth, there's no point, right? You're just polishing turds or something, right? At this point, like that. I mean,
I don't know. I just think that underdog kind of thing for me was like I was always undersized, but like you know, so I had to fight for a lot of things as I played. I mean, I was a volleyball player and a basketball player, and both of those, like, I'm not the right size for it. You know, but like I could play, and so that's and that was the competitiveness kind of came out. But maybe that's where some of it. But I just have never. I don't like the bullying aspect. I don't like the, you know, any of those kind of things. So I've always kind of been that person that tried to be that person that would stick up for some of that and kind of see some of that. So I think that's the reason why the twins and I made those connections too, is that they knew that I was real and I was going to be like a father figure to them, kind of like, because your parents are not gonna. You're not gonna like your parents all the time, you know, because they have to get you to do things that you don't want to do. And
you got to learn discipline.
And that's a coach. A coach should be the same kind of way. I'm going to try and get you to do things that you may not really want to do, but for us to win, you have to do. And so that again, if you have that foundation of the relationship piece, then it makes it much easier.
And you could do that. The cool thing about what I'm hearing you say is that you could do that kind of in juvie, right?
Absolutely.
And then still do that, like, you know, whether it was like on the court or on the field.
Yeah, it's the same. It's about people. Like, what are you trying to get to people to do? Am I trying to get them to just do schoolwork for me? Or am I trying to get them to make sure that they get everywhere they're supposed to do in the press? You know, it's like, it's all of it. All of it is the same. It's just, how are you to get people to do the things that you need them to be able to get them to do?
Okay. Coach, how do kids or people or humans, how do they know, you know, that no matter what, like, you still love them? If you're gonna yell, scream, if you're gonna do whatever,
you're gonna give them the other side. It can't be all one. It just can't be all one. I mean, when we're good, I've got the biggest smile, and I'm the person that celebrates.
Everyone's happy when we're winning.
Yeah, you know, and so like either way, and then when we have a bad day, it's like, again, that goes back to not blaming. And if it was on me, I'll deal with it. If it's on you guys, I'll let you know that you guys need to step up. But I'll also accept responsibility when it's on me too. Okay. So when kids see that, they're seeing all sides of you. And if they only see one side of you, you're never going to get it. If you're the person who only yells all the time, it's never going to work. And that's where people that kind of have a misperception of me, I think. Totally. Because especially the people that aren't with me and the kids every day. They may see me on the sidelines and I look like a lunatic at times in the sidelines.
Well, I mean, I think of like Danny Hurley, right? Like, he's the same way where you're just like,
but if it was so bad, those kids wouldn't be there. So you just have to understand they're still playing as hard as they can. That must tell you something, that they respect what this guy's trying to do for them at the same time.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I think there's a lot of misunderstanding. But, you know, I always looked at it as from, I'm like, and I guess maybe back then when I was a little bit younger, it was like, but I'm like, but he's winning. Like, and like the culture has to be there. If you want to win, like the culture has to be there, right? Like people say like offense doesn't win championships, defense doesn't win championships, like culture wins championships. And you were able to get that out of like, you know, whether it was Brody Angley or whether it was, you know, whoever it was. I mean, whether it was Hillary Hurley, whether it was any of the players that you coached across, you know, multiple sports. It's like, and that's always been kind of what's fascinating me. Coach, can you talk about maybe like a rivalry? I mean, because you coached a long time, and like you kind of had like, you know, in some way, shapes or form, like you kind of had other coaches' numbers. Like how did, you know, like when you stepped on the floor?
I think that there's like Billy is an example at Foothill. Bill Elliott and I were, you know, friends for a really long time. Played golf all the time together.
Right.
But we for a lot of years we had Foothill's number and what we were doing, and I think a lot of that is just that's the schools, you know, and but I also think that we had the hardworking kids, and sometimes when you get those hardworking kids and they play as hard as they can play like that, it's hard to beat that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and I see that's kind of changing just because I just don't think kids are going to work as hard as they used to work, you know, as a whole group, you know.
And why do you think that is, Coach? Like, why do you think it's just like that kind of? Because it's kind of tectonic if you think about it. Like that shift has been, you know, like so monumental, you know, just in the term of like the student or the student athlete, and you're dealing with. I mean, you have to deal with it at the college level as well.
Yeah,
right?
You know, it's funny. I remember one of my best teams and one of my most favorite teams I had. My bottom 5 guys called themselves. They had a name for themselves, and they only wanted to go in the game together. So like. Our starters knew that we had to get as far ahead as we could so that we could get that group in together. They took their own identity, and every practice, they were the ones that worked as hard as they could to make the first team good, and they understood that. Their job was to make them good, and that is almost impossible to find nowadays just because everybody, if they don't play, they don't want to play anymore, or they'll go somewhere else. Yeah. And then that starts with the NIL and of the transfer portal, all of those kind of, and it's just filtering down to everywhere. Everybody, you know, it's like right now at the college level, you know, I have to have, let's say, 20 kids on my team. Well, you start 6, and then every year I'm going to probably have, in terms of retention, I'm probably going to lose 8 to 10 kids every year because they didn't play. Well, you know, my first year I was there, I lost 2 or 3. The other ones would stay all 4 years just because they wanted to be part of a team, and they didn't care if they were the main player. They just wanted to get chances to be on the court. And if not, I'm going to make those starters the best players they can be. That's really hard to do nowadays.
It is. No, it truly is, and I've felt that myself as a coach. And so, talk about coaching when you have to coach, you know, someone like who is kind of like, you know, that person where you're just like, oh, they're definitely like a cut above the rest. And like, how do you deal with going like, I definitely have like a superstar. This kid has superstar potential, if that's the right word, I guess, to coin the phrase.
I think that goes back to what you were saying. We had some great teams and I had some great players, but those players understood that it's about the other players that are on the court. You're only as good as your team. You know, great players are great to have, but great players don't win by themselves. They have to have those other people out there. So just everything we did was about like team concept. Like I know Billy probably could have, one of my best players that I ever had, Billy Sperry. I'm sure he could have probably scored 30 a game, but that's not what we needed him to do. We needed him to play like he did, and he understood that. And he did that as well as anybody. And I just remember one of the games toward his, like at the end of his senior year, he had like 30 at halftime against the team, and it was like the first time he scored over 30, and he was just jacked because that happened. But it was more that it was the flow of the game. We didn't have to give him the ball to do that.
Feeding in the rock.
Yeah, and that's how and I think that's how we played. Everything. If you watched our team, it was about 5 guys playing as one. You know, and that's there was never like. We never really put anybody on that pedestal. It was like everybody had to work the same thing. And that's Anthony would tell you that. That's why, you know, there was times when, you know, he might have thought he was a little too big for his britches, but you know, we're going to put you back in perspective.
Coach. He still does.
Yeah, put you in perspective, and you're as good as those other 4 guys that are out there.
Yeah, no, I think that's really cool, Coach, to hear you say like how you get that concept from one. And so I think particularly and this was like going in my time to high school. So I went to Foothill. You know, it's like I didn't play there. I was always at the games, and it was always like it was a fierce rivalry, and I'm like just looking across, and it's like, I mean, super intense, like Manitoba Mania or the gymnasium's going crazy, and it was just like such a cool. When you're 13, 14, 15 years old, it's just like, holy cow, this is an awesome place to be, right, on a Friday night. And I mean, it was just 2 teams, you know, competing hard. And I just think, I'm like, man, somehow it was like those kids, no matter what you had them in, man, they never gave up. They never quit. But I think back to like, you know, I got to watch, you know, Brody kind of on the tail end. And don't get me wrong, Foothill had some good teams back then too. But I just think of like, so you know, you're probably getting this kid like coming out of, you know, Parsons Junior High or whatever. And it's like, so talk about that, because you know you're getting this kid.
Yeah,
and he's coming
but
through.
the best part about him is he was the most unselfish kid that there was, and that's the reason why everybody's so excited about it, is because he didn't need to do all those things. He did whatever he needed, but he also made everybody else around him better. That's the sign of that great player, when everybody else rises up to your level or tries to get to your level, and because they know that it's just not you by yourself trying to do it. You know, you're going to incorporate all of us.
And so how did he maybe do that? Like just in the ways, in the tangible ways that you just noticed, where it was like that? I mean, because I think that takes like a maturity, right? That takes a maturity and like a humility to know, like, okay, even if he knows low key, or she or they know low key, like, I'm the guy, like, or I'm the gal, or I'm the dude, right?
Yeah, I think that was his upbringing. His parents were Dad was just a super solid man, and he kept Brody in check, and so that he was so grounded. You know, it's hard sometimes when you look at the other team and he's the best player, but he doesn't act like one of those kind of guys like that. He acted like just one of the other guys that are on the team. And so, yeah, I remember his dad told me a story that one of the first years I was coaching the varsity before, Jim Schwartz and I did it together. And people thought that I was the head coach, but really it was his name that was on it, because I wasn't teaching there, but I was actually doing all the coaching, right? And so Brody and his dad came down like in his 7th grade year, because they knew they were going to be moving, and they came and watched one of our games. And so they saw me coaching, and they went, his dad goes, I want you to play for him.
Wow.
But the great part was he kept thinking my name was Jim Schwartz, because they kept saying Jim Schwartz is the head coach. And and I was the guy doing all the work, but I was actually the assistant to him at the time. But yeah, so it was very, very comical at that. That's how we started it.
Coach, talk about some of your assistants, man, because you had some great ones around you, and you just had guys who were like, again, I just think willing to buy into their role, and they were just fierce competitors. Like I remember seeing, you know, Mike. I just remember seeing the whirly bird on the sideline sometimes, and just going like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know if I want to play for him, because I'm like,
he's pretty intense. He's the one person that scares me. So like, there's not many people that would scare me, but he's got the heart is unbelievable. And then having Deaver on my side for all those years, it's like that. And then having Schwarty there with me, it's just, it's always nice when you can bounce things off of people. You know, it's like when you were talking about the Maniacs, I just remember so many times like.
It was terrifying, Coach. I'm not lying.
Yeah, looking down the bench at the guys that I was with, and it's just like, how fun is this? You know, like this is the greatest environment.
Who's got it better? It really was. Like, I was so scared. Like, I would be scared to like go home. Like, just like, okay, when the game's over, like, especially if the Foothill team wins, it's like, we got to get out of the gym. Like, I'm just too scared. Like, this is crazy. And I loved it, man.
Yeah, it was super competitive. That's what's the good part about it. Is this those kind of games just make you, you know, win or lose. Those are the fun ones.
Yeah, and so just, I mean, what a legacy, Coach. I think you know, and talk about like how you develop, you know, character in like athletes and you know, and students. Like how did like character education is just missing.
Yeah, it is. I think so much is. I think you just have to make sure that you keep people grounded, and then they have to be accountable. If you're not accountable for your actions, your behaviors, all of those things, that's what character's about. Is like being accountable for everything that you're doing, good or bad. Be accountable.
Yeah.
And I think that's if you work off of that, and you work off of just like being, you know, integrity and honesty and all of those type of things. I think those are the kind of things that you have to. And the thing that we always tried to build, and I think that lots of players have come back to me later and said, you know, Coach, that was the hardest time when I played for you, but I appreciate it so much now, because now I'm in the business world, and this is like everything you taught us, what you were talking about is like being part of a team in business world. So that's what you're trying to do, is to build that foundation. So when everybody leaves you, that they have like that good foundation to be able to be good workers in society. So,
And coach, sounds like you're just teaching the game of life.
yeah,
You're just
absolutely. I think that's it. Yeah, once you teach that part, then you get those relationships. Then the other pieces kind of fall in play.
Yeah. So just, I mean, and the cool thing about that is that I think, like you said, the misconception is like, it just came with a whole lot of winning. And so I always wondered what's the cost of winning, right? Like what does that entail? And it's like, I don't think that, I don't think that it costs anything for you. I think it was like, this was just, maybe it wasn't like an opportunity cost. It was just kind of like the benefit or the result of like what you were trying to build.
Yeah. From my standpoint, there's there was no cost. It has shaped me as a man, everything. And to have a family that supports you in that's what made it work for me. If I didn't have the family support, this would have never worked. But because I had the right woman that was with me to be able to, say, hey, look, okay, we understand, but you need to come here during this time and make the time to be there. I always tried to make the time to see my kids' games when I could. But that's a lot of the missing that you miss is when you're on the road, you miss a lot of those kind of things. But the kids kind of understood it. It comes at a cost, but that's what Dad wants to do, and that keeps Dad happy. So.
And I think like, I have my kids on the sidelines sometimes, and like my wife is helping me coach, and it's just like, it seems a little hectic and chaotic. Like they're little, like, they're 2 and 4 years old, and but it is like it does become a family affair. I think I at least got a break. And when I look at, I'm like, you just went from, like from volleyball, and then you go to boys basketball, and then you go to softball. And so like, not only are you having to switch sports, but it's like you're having to switch between coaching the girl, coaching boys, coaching girls, coaching boys. And I'm like, how do you do that? Especially in a time where I'm going, okay, but if you get in the playoffs in volleyball, it's like, now you're into basketball season. So talk about that. Yeah,
a lot of that was the assistants that helped me during that time. But like for us in basketball, like I knew my volleyball team would, like we were really successful for a lot of years. So that would mean that I would go longer. So for my basketball team, our preseason was in the summer. We tried to do everything we could, put everything we were going to use for the next year in during the summer, so that when we all came back, that we would all be back at the same time. But also, a lot of my players were football players, and our football team was really successful for all those years. So even though I may be later getting in it, so were they. So we all kind of got only like 3 or 4 days, and we were from football or volleyball right to basketball. So it was so important that we used that summertime to be able to get in a lot of the things that we needed to be able to get in.
Coach, how did you work together, to collaborate on that? Because you hit the nail on the head right there. You're going, you got football players coming out too, and honestly, like there was a time kind of like, with Arrow and True Blood and like, and just the players that are coming through, right? And these teams are rolling too.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. And for me, everything. Like I made my daughters play sports that they probably didn't want to in high school, but I want you to learn to compete in other sports. And I was never a person, and I see it more now where people start to specialize, and I hate it. I hate it. That's to me, like
I'm with you.
If I'm a volleyball player and I'm a softball player, like don't just specialize in softball. But you know what? If you play softball, that helps you in volleyball because the throwing motion is a little different.
Okay.
It's not the same, so it's not going to strain it as much. So the crossover for a lot of sports, but the main thing is just learning to compete with other people. And I always tell my daughters, like, again, when you're in high school, you have a lot of kids that play other sports that'll play volleyball with you. Mm-hmm. And if they're playing with you so that your team could be good because that's your best sport, then you need to help them in their best sport. Yeah. So like that kind of culture carried a lot because a lot of our volleyball girls, like Hillary, would play volleyball, then basketball, play softball because
she was a beast in all of them.
Yeah, we all just tried to. That was kind of what we were trying to get every kid to do. Just play everything. Don't specialize in anything. I don't want you to be that. And I also coached a lot of club volleyball at the time, and I had a lot of Division I girls that played on my club team, and I wasn't that club coach that told kids you need to miss high school stuff. Because I looked at their schedule and arranged our matches, our tournaments around their schedules. Yeah. So because we did that, lots of coaches around here would send me their players because they knew I wouldn't make them make a choice.
You're not interfering.
And now we have so much of these people wanting to making them make choices over their high school.
I hate it too.
I understand the club scene. I understand the AAU stuff, but God, you never get a chance to play in a gym with the Maniacs and
I know.
Foothill, where it's packed and there's people outside waiting to play.
I know.
When you go to an AAU tournament, the only people there are your parents and your friend or your girlfriend.
Right.
Like that is not the same as being able to be in a gym with all those people. So I hate seeing that. I don't want to ever see us lose that high school stuff, because I think that is so important in the character of kids.
We're fighting it, Coach. It's a tidal wave, and we're fighting it. And I think, it's really interesting for me to hear you say that too. And I want to touch on, like, so you need a collaborative, like, working relationship, like, with the football coach,
yes,
like with the other guys. And I think, like, that piece, is also a piece that I would say, by and large, we're pretty much missing.
Yeah. It's become strained, and for me, as a person who's been around the sports for so long, this is one of the ones I think that's the worst, is to watch that we're making people make decisions like that, because I just think that you're missing out on so much. And again, it goes back to, when you fail, you learn, and like, play that other sport that you may not be good at, and maybe you'll learn something from that might help you in the sport that you think you're the best at.
Right. And that, I mean, and you have so many kids who it's like all of a sudden, again, I talked to some of my friends, and I played this sport, but I got a scholarship in this sport, right? I mean,
and you don't know. Like, Anthony is a perfect example. Like, he ended up doing track and went to Sac State on track, but like, he was a football, basketball player, did all those things, and really, track was, when he first started, was just to stay in shape for those other ones, and then it ended up turning into being the main thing for him.
Right. And I think, like, I think of like an Izzy Matthews or a kid like that, where you're just like, hey, like, the track coach is like telling the football coach, like, hey, you should probably check this kid out or something like that. And, it's just like really cool. And again, I think that's another piece that's just like, by and away, it's gone. And so, Coach, just because I want to touch back on winning and like having the opportunities, and just thinking, like, did you just think, like, at some point, like, I can go beyond, like, Reading High School, I can go beyond Simpson University? Did that ever, like, did you ever get offered that? Did you ever, like...
it always kind of was in the back of mine. It's like, I kind of felt like I always wanted to coach at a college level. That's something that I really kind of wanted in the back of my mind. I just didn't want to be that person that had to put all the time in and just do stuff for free to be a college coach at the time. Okay. It worked out with Todd that I was able to kind of get in that avenue, but I always felt like that was more toward my calling, because I feel like I'm a really good recruiter, because I can communicate with people pretty well, and I can go into those people's houses and talk to them. I can get them on campus and make it very comfortable for them. Whereas high school, you get what you get. And in college, you're getting the kids that you want there. So I think that's part of the reason why we've been so successful at Simpson the last 3 years, is it's taken me that long to finally get all my kids there. And then now, since the last 3 years, they've all been my kids, and incrementally we've gotten better.
Oh, totally. It's been
just because of that.
Yeah. And so how, like, when I go back to that, where you're just like, you're recruiting kids, right? And kids are like staying, and there's like not that staying power anymore either. Like, kids are, it's just it's so tempting. And so, Coach, it's so tempting to play this one sport and be a specialist. It's so tempting to just be like the transfer portal. It's so tempting to be like NIL. And I'm like, man, how do we fight that and combat that and build collaboration, so that we're like, if you're looking at the school, or you're looking at, whatever factors that are going into your decision, it's like, how do I get kids to go, you play this sport, I'll play this sport, this is your best sport, this is my best sport. And
I think it all goes back to, you're looking at right now, how many college coaches are retiring and getting out of sports, like Saban and all these big name guys.
Jay Wright.
They can't get out. They can't get past the NIL, the transfer portal. All of those things have just destroyed them, because all of those guys are about team building. Like that, all those, there was not great guys on those teams, but they found a way to play together as groups, especially the Villanova teams. You know, and
they were awesome.
So that, to him starting to lose that way of being able to do what he wanted to do, it's frustrating. It's very, very frustrating that you just, that's kind of the way it's kind of going, that you just can't build that group. I love my group that I have right now. In fact, like I've told people that this is going to be my last year, but I have 9 juniors on my team, and they're doing everything in their power to try and keep me for one more year.
Coach.
Yeah, just because I recruited all those kids there, and and they saw what we've done this year, and they know, give us another year, that might happen. And I can't say for sure that's going to happen, but that's what you're looking for. Like if you have a team of 14 and they're all kind of trying to get you to come back, then you've built the right stuff, and then that's what you're trying to keep that together.
So, Coach, I hear what you're saying. But when I look at your resume and then I go, isn't that a good enough resume to go like, do I have to be in Redding, California? Like, I mean, was there a chance where you're like, because I'm looking at, and I'll go back to the Hurley situation. I'm like, he's looking at UConn, just like you said. He's got these players that he's recruited, right? And then he's looking back and going, like Caliban and stuff, and he's looking back and going, I recruited these players. Like, should I go to the Lakers for this much money? Right. And I'm like, but did you ever think like, I'm gonna go somewhere else and I'm gonna get like?
No, I don't. I think this because I was so grounded here with my family that I think I would have loved to have coached college around here, but I don't think I really wanted. I don't want the pressure of that big stuff. I kind of like the area. I love Simpson. I really have. That has been so refreshing for me.
That's
just
awesome.
Because my last couple of years in high school kind of got ugly with some of the things that kind of happened,
right.
and it was all about parents that ruined everything for the kids and everybody else. And I deal with parents in a different light now. It's like, I'm paying your kid to come to school. I'm helping them go to school. So I don't get the other side of that because I'm actually helping them in that situation. And if you don't like it, like there's the door, you can
but
go somewhere else.
Do you see those like kind of like, I don't know, like ever since maybe the golden advent of the soccer mom, like do you see like the lawnmower parent or like, you know what I mean? Like the helicopter parent on the college side? Like is that?
Yeah, you're going to get one or two of those, but it's really important that you recruit the kids, and when you recruit the kids, it's got to be the family at the same time.
Okay.
So there's been kids that probably could have come to us, but I didn't really want because I watched the parents and I watched kind of how they are. That I didn't want that with me at all. For me, when I go recruit, I go a lot of time to like tournaments, and I'll go watch. And the thing to me is, like, I think a lot of coaches are the same way, but I'm watching when that kid fails and how do they deal with it. I'm also watching how they interact with the other players that are on their team.
Yeah.
How is their parents acting and
in the
interacting?
stands, and are they going psycho?
Because like as I see a parent and I'm like, okay, that's not going to work. Like your kid might be that's not going to work. So you just gotta find those ways to be able to find the right person and family to recruit. So you're not recruiting the kid, you're recruiting the whole group of them.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's a really helpful nugget, I think. And it's just so interesting to hear you that you just wanted to stay rooted in community. Because I think I always wanted that. I'm like, man, he wins a lot. I was like, he's doing great things, like, just for the community. I'm like, he could get out of this community and he could go somewhere else and he could,
Well, I got humbled very quickly when I was at Simpson because my first year I recruited a couple kids that were there, but I inherited the team from before. Like we won like 4 games, and like I don't think we've lost as many games as we lost in like 5 or 6 years when I was coaching in high school.
Did that ever happen in the first when you first got to Enterprise or when you first got to the high school?
No, actually, because I was coaching JVs at those. No, we were actually pretty successful during that time. But God, that was just like okay, that's a dent in the ego, that if you want to look at that. But it's like, okay, we got to build, and it's going to take time to build it. And so you finally get beyond that. But whoa, it was tough when I first started. Just like you feel like you're making the right, and you hear people go, "Oh wow, it's not a normal Simpson team," which would have meant that you're getting killed. Well, we're more competitive, but we're still losing. I don't like you hearing you say that to me.
Yeah,
I would rather be okay. You got a really good team, not that it's not a normal Simpson team.
Because that's like a reflection on you or on the community. Like, hey, this is where the bar is. Like, the expectation is this low.
Yeah, and I want that bar way higher. That's not how we're looking at things.
Do you talk to parents about those expectations and that bar? Like, is that something you just explain?
And I always tell parents when they come with their kids that there's a couple questions that I always ask them, a couple things I always tell them. One, like your kid, when he comes here, I don't care who it is, has an opportunity to play. But I will never, ever promise a kid that you're going to come in here and play. You have to compete for it. Mm-hmm. So you as parents and your son or your daughter need to know that there's no guarantees for him. If he gets to play, it's because he earned it. If he doesn't get to play, he earned it.
Right.
So either way, it's going to be that way. So that's talked about before they ever come to school with us.
Coach, how do you do that with and you had to do this back when you were coaching 3 sports. It's like, but how do you do that from from male to female athlete?
Oh, the female athletes is, so here's the thing. I always tell people about the female athlete. You have got to build a relationship because they got to know you care, and then they'll do anything for you. Guys, you have to prove to them that you know what you're talking about, then they'll do anything for you.
Wow.
It's always, because guys will always say, why? Why do I have to do that? And then you have to prove to them why. Girls, like, you know, you can do that. You can just show them, and then they'll do it because you've got a relationship piece with them.
Coach, I just picture you and like Brody, like just, you know, all right, Brody, strap him up, like let's go, like I'm taking you one-on-one or whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just
no. I was smarter than that. I was a little too old at that time. Yeah, maybe when I was younger, but no, not at all. No.
Yeah,
So.
no, that's really, I mean, that's really important and really valuable, you know. And I think like it. You know, as I've coached girls over the years too, I think it's easier to get girls to buy into the team concept versus the boys. And I think that's been
the thing you deal with girls is that, and I'll go back to the guys again, but girls, you deal with a lot of stuff that has nothing to do with sports.
My Lord.
It's all about like boyfriends and
Preach.
all, like they walk into the gym and they bring all that baggage with them. Two guys literally could get in a fight outside of practice,
Coach.
and then they come to practice and they're good. Girls, like you looked at my boyfriend wrong, all right? I'm not talking to you today. So it's like, and I had two daughters, so like I'm an expert in this. I had two daughters and a wife, so I grew up with three females, and it's this is speaking from expertise.
Man, that's like so good, Coach. When you're so speak to that. So when you're coaching your kids, like what I mean, especially because you said you know the female, right? And you know, like you're like learning this. You know, how did you help them like kind of manage that? You know, like manage all the extra baggage that like they just. It's inevitable that it's going to come inside the gym. It's going to come inside the locker room. It's going to divide your team.
And here's where you really have to find those leaders on your team, because what I tell them is this, like, you're my captains, deal with this. I'm not dealing with it. Like, this is all that stuff that you guys are, all the peripheral stuff, that's internal. You guys got to figure that out on your own, and you got to be mature enough to be able to do that. This is more in terms of the college stuff for me. If there's a problem and it's big, that I need to deal with, you come to me and I'll fix it. But I'm not going to fix all this other stuff. Yeah. And I'm not, when they come into this gym, when we walk through those doors, leave it. Like when you come in, now it's my 2 hours, and we're not dealing with any of that other stuff.
I just don't know how you do that, Coach, because I'm like, they still will have their feelings hurt, and you can still like they'll wear it on their face, and you'll see it in their behavior.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm like, and then if you yelled at them the wrong day, and you know, and they were on their period or what, it's just like it's all over.
Well, you know, the thing is, you can never think, no matter how you coach, that everybody's going to like you. If you're trying to think that that's going to be that way, it'll never happen. Because 14 individuals, I could be the nicest guy in the world. One person is going to say he's too nice. Like, so it's just, you just can't, because I need somebody to yell at me, or I don't want somebody to yell at me. So just understand that when you go into it, you have to do what you do, and just understand there's going to be people who don't like you no matter what you do. Right. So no matter what you do with the girls, it is not going to matter.
And this is good. I need this advice because like I'm a girl dad right now. I'm in the phase where I just feel like being a girl dad is way easier. But like I noticed it in myself. I'm coaching my kid, and it's like U6 soccer. I didn't want to coach. I got kind of dragged into, voluntold, whatever, and I don't want to coach. And she's out there, and we're playing games, and I'm like, and she's just dribbling around him and scoring all the goals. And I'm like, and I don't want to like over celebrate because it's my kid, and I don't want them to be like, oh, you're just playing. Because I feel like that's gonna happen even at the young levels where you're just trying to like teach the game, right? And so I'm yelling at her, and I'm like, you need to do this, right? And I'm like, and she comes over to me one time, and she's just like beside herself, and she's crying because she doesn't hear the message, and she doesn't hear, you know, or see my praise. It's like she just hears the tone, and she's 4 years old, and she thinks that I'm like mad at her. Right. And I'm like, oh, it was such a good...
It breaks your heart. And
it was such a good moment for me to be like, dang, that's like, I get it now. Like, that's a good...
Yeah. Girls it's going to be a different thing as you go through it. But you'll super appreciate it when they're like, for me, my two daughters live two doors apart. You know, I have 4 grandkids that live like that close to each other. So Yeah, it's a fun time when they get to the other side of that. There's a lot of work in the middle of it. So.
Yeah, no, I'll have to call you or have to text you or whatever. You know, just thinking back, and that's
yeah. Anytime you need a text, just text me. I'll give you input.
What am I supposed to do? And so, like when you're being like a dad and a coach, right? When you're being dad coach, or like you get to coach your kids, like, can you speak about that? And
yeah,
just like
my kids always tell me it was the worst part about it was that. I never quit coaching them. So like I'd be at the dinner table and I'd be talking about stuff. And it's like they got to the point where my wife finally said, okay, no more at the dinner table. Nothing. We have to have a safe space for them that they don't have to get coached. Like that. And they also knew that I was going to be like, I never wanted anybody to think that my kids got preferential treatment.
I think about that.
And so I'm always 100 times harder on my kids than I would be anybody else's.
Right.
And probably to a fault at times, but I wanted to make sure that people understood and the players understood that they're the same as you. Mm-hmm. You know, that they're not going to get that preferential treatment. Mm-hmm. They're going to have to work for every single thing that they get to at the same time.
And did they end up going on playing at the next
Neither one of
level,
them went on after high school, but my one daughter was MVP of the section, the other was a first team all section setters. Okay. Both of them, you know, did what Dad did. Was a
and
setter.
You were a setter, yeah.
So that to me is to me they learned how to be team players, and so one went to be a counselor, worked at a school. The other works for a company where she does a lot of team building stuff. So the thing I think I appreciate most about them. They were both great players, but everybody that played with them, I know for a fact would say they were great teammates.
Yeah,
which is to me is the most important thing. When you're done playing, you have to be able to sit and say to yourself, "Was I a good teammate?" And that doesn't mean you have to be nice to everybody. That just means you have to be a good teammate, which means you have to compete at the highest level. You have to push yourself. You have to hold everybody else on your team accountable to the same level that you're going to hold yourself to.
And Coach, I think about that impact and legacy. I think that's so important because you're right. Like these people, these kids that I coach are going to go on and they're going to do great things. And I look and I go, man, so like you're going to be part of a team at some point. And I like if I had to hire someone and they told me like I played for Mike Haworth, then I could be like, you're hired because I know that you're vetted. I know that you're coached well. And I know that you understand like what it means to be on a team. And right here, like we're going to be on a team and it's not about you. It's not about, right. It's about us. It's about we, right. It's we, not me. Right.
Yeah. That's so, God, it's so amazing. You said that. Boyce Muse, who's got a big company. He's one of the biggest businesses in town. He said, I would hire any kid that played for you. He has one of his main guys is a kid named Nick Gray who played for me.
I love Nick. Yeah.
Yeah. So and he's one of his higher guys that started at low level. They never thought he would do it, and then ended up going all the way up the chain. And he said, "I love it because he played for you, and I know what he's going to be like when he's done playing for you."
Wow,
so that again, that's the nuggets you take as a coach that.
Good.
And like all the people that have gone on and played for later on that said, "Oh yeah, coach, I learned all." That's what makes it worthwhile to me.
Okay.
Like I those individual things, I'm like, I'm not into that kind of stuff. I'm like, my record will speak for itself because of the players and all the players. Whatever they say about you is what's the most important thing.
Right on, man. Right
not all those other accolades.
How did you drown that out though in terms of the accolades? Not just that, but like in terms of the criticism. Like that's got to be heavy too because you're going through. It's like, so how do you kind of like push the haters to the side and like just? I think
that if you don't go either way, you're good. Like don't get yourself too big on things, and don't let the other people tear you down. The social media was the worst thing that could have ever happened to all of us because it just gives an avenue to people that don't have a clue to what's going on. They can open their mouths and talk. And the people that hurt the most when that kind of criticism came out was not me. It was my family, like my daughters and my wife. To me, it's like, I don't care what they say. Like I literally do not care because I know what I'm doing. My players know what we're doing. And forget those people. They're not there every day in practice. They have no idea what they're talking about. If you want to, come here every single day in practice and watch us. My gym's open all the time.
Did you invite people in?
All the time.
And the haters never showed up.
Never showed up. They're right behind that little screen and being able to say whatever they want. But no, so ignorant that they don't really know some of those kind of things.
Yeah, no, and you just talk about the effect that like it had on your family, and I'm like, and again, like it's so much because you're like I said, you're coaching 3 sports, so it's not like you don't ever really get a break from you know from the accolades, but you don't ever really get a break from the criticism on the other side too.
And and again, that goes back to like if I have a team of 15, you know that there's going to be people that aren't going to like you, or aren't going to like what you're doing. You know, especially if you think of a 15, you only start 6. Or if you a softball team, there's 15, you only start 9. Well, there's 5 or 6 people, their kids aren't playing. And they're not going to be happy because their kid's the best.
Totally.
No matter what they think their kid's the best.
They're the best. Yeah, they're the best.
Yeah, they're the best.
Oh man, it's tough, Coach. Last question, Coach. I think about just what you've kind of meant, as like in terms of impact, across the city, across this town, and I hear you might be leaving us, and so I wanted to make sure I got you on just to tell a piece of your story. Because again, I've always wanted to have a conversation with you, or just to sit down like over coffee, and I enjoy that we get to do this because I've admired you for a long time. So I just want to leave another nugget. What would you say to either like a younger version of yourself, or what would you say to maybe like a coach who's like a coach, a father, a business leader, or whatever, who's trying to figure it out, like how do I build this team? Like what's your pillars?
I think the one is build the relationships. 2, for me as a younger person looking back on mine, I would want to say that be patient a little bit more. Like I think that's the frustration that would come out of me is I'm impatient. I was like the victim of let's get it done now.
Okay.
And not understand as you get older and you start to do it more, you understand it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight, and you're going to fail a lot, and so you're going to have to fail to get better. So I think that would be one thing that I would say to myself if I was younger, is be really patient in what you're doing and just stay the course.
Yeah.
Stay the course. It's like build the relationship pieces with people, and then hold people accountable. Just and hold yourself accountable.
Yeah.
Like all of that, and like for me now, as much as I've been at Simpson, is your faith is important. Trust in God that He has the right things for you. So yeah, I think that's a big thing. That's
cool.
That has really become more of it for me now, being at Simpson, than when I was in high school, because the emphasis is so different where we are, because we're building character, we're building faith-based kids at the same time. So
absolutely,
all of those things are, I think that's, if I was doing that, that's as a young business. Have energy. That's the thing. It's just whatever you do with passion. And I think that's the one thing that I've lived with, is that whatever I've done it I feel as passionately as I can.
So when you hang it up, that you're like...
Yeah, for me, it's the hardest thing in the world to try and hang it up. That's because I absolutely love what I'm doing. I love, like this year's team for me is one of my favorite teams, just because,
awesome.
But every year I say that about the same team. It's like, but it's hard.
But you have that renewed energy every year, which I think is just so cool, because like I just said, you can hang it up and walk away and be like, I'm done, it's too much. But
well, I just turned 70, so it'd be very easy for me to just kind of walk. But there, I would love to end it and be more into my family and stuff, but you never know what's going to happen.
Coach,
we'll just let it see.
Man, so much wisdom. Wow, so powerful. What a blessing, Coach. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.